A thick fog impedes your vision. You surmise this is in no small part why they call it the Bewildering Wood. About the enemy. Many a brave soul has set foot in this wood, only to be swallowed up and never seen nor heard from again, the traveler intones gravely. They also tell of a certain tool one needs to get through this place. About the enemy. A message is written on the sign. Seek out the four stela hidden deep in these woods. You hear a beautiful melody flowing from the forest depths. It sounds like singing, or perhaps birdsong. As you listen closely, you are struck by a sudden dizzy spell. You sense a presence growing closer, but cannot react. The grass rustles, then a monster slowly shows itself from between the blades. It's a harpy. Realizing you've been caught in the harpy's trap, you ready your weapons. Congrats. For some time after that, you find yourself trembling at the mere sound of a bird's tweet. found the southern stela. You smack it and hear a sound off to the west. You'd best head that way next. The man sighs, realizing he may never be able to escape with his current tool set. Attributing it to your imagination, you decide to ignore it. A short moment later, the melody stops. You have found the northern stela. It doesn't look particularly special. You resolve to touch it anyhow. You take a peek inside the grass and immediately find the owner of it. It seems like the harpy hasn't yet noticed you. Startled, the monster flaps its wings and flies away. You find some coins scattered about where it stood. Trees bearing very solid-looking nuts whip to and fro in the force of the gale. This doesn't bode well for you. Nuts fly off the trees and smack you and your friends right on the head. Everyone's faces screw up in agony. The next stela is, you hear someone murmuring. It sounds like a man, but you can't really be sure in these woods. You have found the eastern stela. You see the words Melody of Fortune chiseled into the corner. I need to hit the stela every single time I want to go home. Ah, what a pain, the frowning woman sighs. You have found the Western Stela, which you swear up and down was not here when you came in. Nevertheless, you give it a smack. You have found all 4 of the Stela in the bewildering wood. On a perhaps related note, you hear a sound emanating from the east. Congrats. The woman appears to be lost. How do I get out of here? She asks with furrowed brows. You examine the stela. The message carved into the stela reads, "Play in tune with the forest." You hold the woodland flute you received from the good doctor in Thriston. Doot 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 doodly, doot 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 doo. You blow a handful of pleasant enough notes into the woodland flute. You soon become aware of accompanying percussion, which reveals itself to be a series of impeccably timed footfalls racing toward you. A young woman appears before you. "That was absolutely dreadful," she whinges, her jaunty gait betraying her enjoyment. She calls herself Riddis and declares herself a woodlander, resident of the bewildering wood. By sheer coincidence, the flute on which you played those notes was one designed to call the woodland people to your side. Stunned by your good fortune, you ask Ridis to lead you eastward out of the forest. What luck! She agrees far more readily than you ever anticipated. But, she continues, extending her hand, you'll have to hand over the woodland flute first. That'll cost you 1,000 gold pieces, you say smugly. Ugh, it's always about money with you travelers, she snorts derisively. Her face contorts in disgust. She reaches into her cloak. Hey, what about my money? You stammer. Before you can finish your thought, Mar's tongue whips across your hand, snatching the fruit and sliding it into his gullet. Ridis gasps. How could you let him do that? Just one of those fruits sells for 10,000 gold pieces, she shouts. So you can pay me back for the fruit your little friend stole, or you can hand over that flute, she says, pressing her case. I think you've lost this one, Melanie says, snickering. You look down at Mar, who seems quite pleased with himself. I suppose I have, you sigh in resignation. You begrudgingly hand the woodland flute to Ridis. Ridis plucks the woodland flute out of your hands with glee and begins playing it as she skips away. Well, playing is a generous term. It sounds as though she may as well be murdering the poor thing. Ridis makes it clear that the fastest way out of the woods is through woodland, where she lives. It's that-a-way, Ridis says gleefully, pointing past the stela before you. Welcome to Woodland, Ridis says, gesturing out over the village. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm quite busy for the rest of the day, so you'll have to wait till tomorrow to leave the forest, she says, and makes her way home. Welcome to the Forest Oasis, the man greets you warmly. You happen upon a man greedily guzzling well water. Could it truly be that much better than ordinary water? This shortcut is reserved for use by woodland citizens only, the guard barks, clearly unwilling to let you pass. Apparently she's heard rumors of the dragon destroying another town somewhere. Our village would burn down so easily, she mutters, perhaps a bit more afraid of the symptom than the cause. You learn that Ridis's family is mired in debt and living hand to mouth, and I know how they got in so much trouble, the rumor mongerer says deliciously. We are not in the business of meddling in the personal affairs of others, Melanie says curtly, cutting her off. Welcome. 100 gold pieces will get you. You will be instantly transported to any location you've previously visited. Travel for 100 gold pieces? You take note of a woman who appears quite ill. As it turns out, she is none other than Ridis's mother. She is in no small amount of pain. Will you give her something to ease her suffering? The item you've proffered has, but I appreciate the thought. Ridis's mother hands you Mysterious Card 3 as a token of her gratitude. She begins speaking of Ridis, who has been preparing the medicine that helps her get through the day. She blames her illness, and therefore herself, for making Ridis's life so difficult. The more she talks, the more her face drops. Ridis pores over a book while practicing on the woodland flute. She remains dreadful at it. The instant you begin speaking, she nearly leaps out of her skin and hides the book. She somehow hadn't noticed you. I thought you were the debt collectors. You can't sneak up on me like that, she stammers, struggling to regain her composure. Been a while since we've had any outsiders, the innkeeper says. It turns out this inn is simply a place where the poor, lost souls trapped in the bewildering wood may recover. You may stay as long as you like, free of charge. The wooden dining table practically groans under the weight of the platters upon it, all brimming with meats and vegetables from the bewildering wood. I've certainly earned this, you say to yourself, as you slide into your seat at the table, positively drooling over the feast before you. Melanie takes no note of your boorish behavior, uttering a small prayer of thanksgiving before reaching for a plate of vegetables. Mar sits, eyes fixed on the food upon the table, statuesque in his stillness. What a good boy. Mar clears the entire table in a matter of seconds, even emptying the water barrel in a single gulp. He lets out a self-satisfied burp that sends a small jet of just drank water arcing out onto the floor. The sun sinks low, and the day draws to a close. A scream pierces the silence. Fire! You leap out of bed, adrenaline coursing through your veins.